Hey, what is going on, everybody? In today's video, I want to do a bit of self-reflection as we round the bend slowly towards the end of the year and talk about my roster. But in particular, I want to go over some of the regrets that I have over things that I did with a variety of characters, whether that's because I thought it was worth it and it turned out to be not to be, or I just didn't get the level of return on them that I thought I might have. I'm usually pretty good when it comes to what I decide to invest in, but there are, those times where I've just made the wrong choice or decision, and I want to share some of those with you to either hopefully stop you from making a similar mistake or just make you more conscious about things going forward, since resources are limited in a lot of ways, be that gold, T4s, or gear, so it never hurts to be a bit more careful and really think about whether or not you want to hit that equip all button or invest that extra T4 or not. So, this is going to be a top 5 video, but it will be a combination of individual characters and teams that I definitely over-invested into. So, without further ado, let's get this list started. Okay, so coming in at number 5 is the Sinister Six. Now, to be clear, a lot of this is the extra members of the Sinister Six, not necessarily Doc Ock. I don't regret investing in Doc Ock standalone. I'm still using him, obviously, in Doom Raid. He is a really fun character, and I enjoy using him. But I think I did overinvest in the other rest of the team, that I did use this team both on war defense and on war offense. Currently, I actually don't know where I have them. I think they have them on defense still. But I definitely overinvested in the minor members. So especially Mysterio and Rhino, I think I did spend silver promotions on getting Mysterio to 5 red. I luckily did not go the extra way on Rhino to get that 5 red, but I did spend a fair bit of gold raising them past 75, even past 70, in terms of gold. And Swarm is at level 80 and Electro's at level 81. I did not click the equip all button on gear for Swarm and Electro. I was really hoping actually that this next patch would have included extra members of the Sinister Six for No Way Home, the movie that's coming. I really thought, for those who haven't seen the trailer, which includes characters like Sandman, the Lizard, and I think there is maybe some others as well. I was really hoping that the patch was going to include new characters for them. Now, for Rhino, I did invest in level 76, gear 12. A lot of them are, at least that's like the base level that I did. Some ISOs up to level 4. I guess they're war ready now, but the T4s into the passive. Now, this is if you really like Rhino, this is a really good passive because it does increase his maximum health by 40%, and he gets an additional speed bar by 25% when he gets blinded. So in terms of that 40%, it's pretty good, but his base stats are still really low, like 7 yellow, 4 red, and he's only 200k hit points. That being said, the passive does increase quite a bit, an additional 100%, so it basically doubles his health, with the full Sinister Six team. But, still, you don't need to invest in these characters that high as I did. My Mysterio's almost 90k, level 78. Now, I did not go... I thought I took him to Skirmisher 5, but apparently I didn't. So, in this regard, I just put in a lot of gold. This is a lot of gold. I kind of wish that I could have taken back a little bit. I did have some fun with these characters, though, because I did actually do some videos back in the day, and you might still find it on my channel, where I did actually beat a Black Order team with my Sinister Six. I think, basically it was all the new characters. It was less so about Mysterio and Rhino. Swarm, I put a lot of T4s into Swarm. I have 3 out of 4 T4s on Swarm. Now, he is also 5 red. I think I purchased that 5 red, so that didn't help either. I'm really hoping at some point, maybe the patch after this winter patch, that we'll still see some chargeable Sinister Sixes. I think this is something that people want. But yeah, as far as what I've been able to do with them right now, it's not a whole lot. So that's why I think it's overinvestment. Electro, same kind of story. I have 2 out of 4 T4s. I have fun with her. I think she's a really interesting character, and I think if we do get some more chargeables or some reworks, I think that they'll be fun again. But right now, I'm just not really using them all that much outside of Doc Ock. I don't regret the investment into Doc Ock. He is great. I'm still using him every day. But everyone else, unfortunately, is not getting that kind of attention that Doc Ock is getting. So this is my number 5 pick for characters that I overinvested in. Okay, so coming in at number 4 is Night Nurse. Now, she is an interesting character. She was actually a decent character back in the day when people were using her pre-Minerva. For things like Ultimate 6, I'm pretty sure, was where the majority of people used her. And then Minerva came out, and then she was trash again. Nobody touched her for a very long time until February of this year. I believe it was February-ish, when they released the Shadowland patch. Now, Shadowland, for those of you who don't know, that was the rework for Night Nurse, Daredevil, Elektra, and included characters White Tiger and Moon Knight. So, the team itself is really, really good for Alliance War offense. Actually, I would say still probably one of the top 5 war offense teams in the game. So they're very, very good. However, they're very, very expensive when it comes to T4 investment. Night Nurse specifically, as you can see, you know, I have a lot of T4s that I included. I'm surprised I didn't even get the basic on top of that because it's not bad, but I think it's more relevant if you're using her within her team. So the reason why I got these T4s were because these were all things that I could use her standalone for, more or less, and I was using her for Dark Dimension 4 City. I really tried to make her work, but this was at a time where there wasn't as many options as we had now. You know, now we have Cloak and Dagger, now we have Shang-Chi, so there's tons of other city options outside of the symbiotes, of course, and soon to come Web Warriors. There are definitely more options for the city lane than we had in the past. But, you know, realistically, she did not provide as much benefit as the symbiotes who I used, you know, alongside her in Dark Dimension 4 City. I just tried to make a character viable amid a fresh rework, and she wasn't a bio character. So that was another thing, was that I was really tight on my resources because of using, I put it first into Symbiote Spider-Man, and then Anti-Venom, and then there were so many bio characters. I was just like, okay, what can I do with my gear for City that isn't a bio character? It's like, okay, fresh rework, Night Nurse, skill, boom, and I did it. And, you know, it's unfortunate that you know, outside of war, I'm really not using her a ton. There's not really too much more I can do with her, and I would not recommend investment in her or the Shadowland team, sadly, at this point, just because they're so T4 heavy, and I think we've kind of missed the opportunity to invest in them. I would not do that now because they're a very high bar that you have to invest in to get a good return out of them. But they are a very strong team. They're also a lot of fun, so this is why she's only number 4. There's a lot worse ones that I've had in the numbers to come. So that's number 4, Night Nurse. Alright, so coming in at number 3, this is going to be a 2-for-1 here, because I could not just settle on just one. Now, it's going to be Strife and Magneto. We're going to first start to talk about Strife. Now, Strife is part of the Marauders team. This was one of the best war defense teams for a good while, basically when Emma Frost came out last summer. So they had kind of war defense supremacy, I think, for about 6 or 7 months or so. She came out in August of last year, and then Strife had been already out for a good while, but because of Emma Frost bumping the team up, I think that really they were a good defense team, sorry, until about February of this year, also when Shadowland came out. And, you know, there was a successive slew of characters that just more and more started countering the Marauders, X-Factor, Shadowland, and so on. So I kind of over-invested in gold and gear. Not so much the T4s, I don't have any, like as you can see here, but I think that I just maybe put a little bit too much gold, and I put gear tier 14 in them a bit late, actually. So I'm not normally the first to jump in on war characters, and specifically war defense characters. So this was a strange one for me. I put in a bit of extra gear that I don't think I needed to do. And this was at a point in time, probably early this year, when they were kind of slowly going down anyway. So I think this was a bit of an overinvestment here. Now, Magneto, this is a different one as well. Part of this is because I got a 6 red. And I put gear tier 14 into him. Now, I have a little bit less gold in him than Strife, because Strife was like, what, 78, and Magneto's 75. Magneto's not a character I would invest in at all at this point in time. However, that makes me think that they're going to do a Nick Fury on him and make you gear him for some future legendary down the line. And if that happens, great. I already have him geared up, and I guess I don't have to really worry about that other than the ISOs, which shouldn't be that difficult. He was a lot of fun when the Brotherhood 1.0 and both the Brotherhood 2.0 as well. But as far as where I use him now, I don't really get much mileage out of him. I'm not even sure where he is on my defense. I think he might be in a filler spot in my Marauders team, actually, so that makes sense why I combine them with Strife. But other than that, he's a bit of a wild card. Definitely don't invest in him now, like, unless you're forced to do so for a future legendary. Unfortunately, Magneto, as much as I love mutant characters, I think Magneto is awesome as a character, and I hope that he gets maybe a skin of his own that I can get free to play. But other than that, unfortunately, Magneto is in that kind of category of regrets that I have for my roster. Okay, and coming in at number 2, just before number 1, and that is the Pymtech team. Now, with the exception of Ghost, I over-invested in all of the other characters on this team for the purposes largely of the Jubilee event. So when we found out that Jubilee required the Pymtech team, I stupidly thought that, hey, you know, I kind of need to invest in all of the characters across the board, because usually that's what you do. Like, not always, but, you know, that's what I used to do in the past for legendaries. I kind of, you know, upgraded them to a point. I'm like, okay, this is like the recommended, what they say in the recommendations, right? So I should have no problems clearing that. And yeah, this actually was enough for the 7-star event for Jubilee with all of the characters. Everyone survived. Great, we moved on, you know, except when I heard that it could all be done by just Ghost. So there's some videos out there, there are people who've talked about this, that basically you can solo the tier 7 Jubilee event with just Ghost at level 80, gear tier 15, and I guess some T4s maybe, because you probably would have had this from Dark Dimension anyways, and you could do that. And so when I heard about that, I was like, oh, okay. Well, then I wasted all the resources and gold gearing all 4 of these characters that I didn't need to do, because I don't use them anywhere else. Sometimes, occasionally in Gamma, which is a shitty raid, by the way, you know, because it's ongoing right now as of recording this video. But I definitely overinvested in these characters, and I have some decent red stars for them, but I wouldn't have done it had I known I could do it completely solo with Ghost. So I'm disappointed in the amount of gold that I put in, even up to 65, 71 for stature, and luckily I don't think I put any T4s into any of them. But this was I wouldn't say a failed rework, but this team was not as good as was advertised. A lot of people just took Ghost. I think there was a handful of people when Dark Dimension 4 first started in Global that some people did actually gear tier 14 plus 15 these characters, but you really didn't need them, because even then, even with Ghost, you could have used a handful of older characters. A lot of people just ended up going Ghost, Sinister, Emma, this kind of thing, you know, and you really did not need to do that with the rest of the characters. So this is kind of this is a weird team that just like almost like a Wakanda. It was not as bad as Wakanda, but I feel like it really missed the mark. And I really hope, one thing that I hope that happens to this team, I hope that Stature gets a rework, a slight rework, and she becomes the tank for the Young Avengers. She is an OG member of the Young Avengers, and she's a founding member of it. So I would really appreciate her being on that team, and that way at least the gold that I put into level 71 won't go to waste. That being said, I'll still use Ghost. I use her... Actually, I don't really use her anymore anyways. You know, maybe I'll take her to Dark Dimension 5. I don't know. I think I said 5 by accident earlier on. I meant to say 4. I'm getting confused with all the numbers now. Anyways, Pymtech, number 2, overinvestment. If you're looking to do the Jubilee event, you can just do it if you invest into Ghost, so keep that in mind. Alright. So coming in at number 1, the skill military team. So We're going to talk about all 6 of them, although I want to point out that in regards to this particularly, I'm not really including Killmonger in this because he's actually a decent character that you want to bring up to, you know, a semi-good degree. I actually use him as part of my defense in my Mercs team. I don't use him as part of the skilletary team because now that we've moved Black Widow in, this team has just seen like adjustment after adjustment after adjustment. When they first came out, there's videos of me that I invested in these right in the beginning, and content creators like myself, and I think McMole as well, you know, really tried to get this team to work. I don't know how he felt about this team, but I know that I just really felt they really missed the mark, and a lot of us did as well. And he actually, or sorry, in Strike Force, you know, Boundless, Scopely, whatever, they ended up reworking this team again and adding some more things to the characters to make sure that they just melded a little bit better, and they added Black Widow onto that team as well, which is great not only for the new the training mat Flash event, but just some cohesiveness for the team. The Black, you know, there was, because Black Widow wasn't on the team, so it was a bit strange when the movie and the style that stuff came out with Yelena and Red Guardian and Black Widow wasn't a part of it. It just seemed really odd. Now, having Merc Soldier on here was really out of left field, I guess because he was left out from the other Mercs team, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me why they just included him. That being said, you know, I put a P4 into his passive because in war anyways, it's really good. Gain an additional 40% damage and 50% max health, and then all the skill military allies also get that. So you really have to run him that. This is significant. 50% max health and 40% damage. If you do not have this T4, you're basically not going to get this team to work, because as you can see down here, I know my head's in the way, but in war, it's 40% additional damage from that T4. That is super significant to even get them to work. That being said, where do I use this team in war now? Yes, they do have a Flash event, but you don't need to raise them to this level of investment to get them to work for the Flash event. You only really need to get them probably to about gear tier 10, 11. Don't quote me on that one, because, you know, I well over invested in this team, so this is not a good representation of what you need for the Flash event. Killmonger, I put a T4 into the special because this was the one that transferred positive effects. This was before Black Widow was added to the team, so I kind of needed to have this to try and make it work. But it's very T4 heavy. Now, Punisher, super overinvested for one reason or another. Not just skilletary, I also did use him in Defenders way back in the day. But I added T4s into Grenade Launcher and Fully Loaded, his ultimate, when the skilletary rework happened. And I had the passive previously from Defenders. So I used him in, I tried, actually, you know, gear tier 15. So I tried to use him in Dark Dimension 4 City. You heard me talk about Night Nurse for the exact same reason. And Punisher, because he's very cheap to gear, I decided to do that. Now, Punisher is going to stay where he's at. I'm not going to make the same mistake again for Dark Dimension 5 City. He is not going to gear tier 16. He is not going to level 85. He is going to stay here. Red Guardian is probably the one I got the most use out of, because I did actually use him in Doom Raid 1 skill for a while as my tank before Captain America Sam, really got going, and he's okay. He's probably the best character out of all of these that are even worth some investment. But would I invest in them now? No. Take them into as high as you need for the event, for the Flash event, and leave them there. Yelena's also pretty disappointing in my opinion. You know, I don't even have her maxed out at 7-star. I just stopped getting shards for her. I don't need it because I have the other 5 for the Flash event. And I just would not go any further. So, unfortunately, skilletary. Where do I use them in war, though? What do I normally fight? I fight things like Doc Ock teams, because actually Punisher is pretty good if you have invested into him, that he can just AoE spray most of the Sinister Six down. Other than that, I don't have a lot of teams that I actually actively use them against, because Punisher is good against villains, and so that's kind of who you want to target in this case. But yeah, really avoid this. This is probably my #1 biggest regret. In terms of my roster, they were released, they were adjusted like 2 times, and even then, they're okay, not worth it now, and I wish I could get all of this resources back and put it anywhere else. and I would have been able to put it to better use, especially that gold. So that's the end of my list. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below, what have you invested in randomly or by accident, or you did something thinking that, you know, it was going to be good. I would love to know what kind of mistakes you made on your roster that you wish you could take back, whether that's gold you wanted to take back, T4's gear, or otherwise. We've all made our mistakes, so don't feel bad. But yeah, curious what other people did as well. So that's the end of this video, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.